So
perfect timing.
well, there's a story about that.
There always is. That's the thing.
There's
That's the
always-
thing in this space. It's never like it's all good. You know what I mean? There's always a story, and I love it. That's what I love about it.
And everybody has a different story.
Exactly. Welcome everyone. We're back with another Words of Rizdom podcast. Today we are joined by another Riz. We're just outside. I didn't tell you. We were just outside. Riz, I was getting out my Uber. I was with my wife and baby. They're gonna go see a friend, and I said to my baby, "Oh, this is Uncle Riz." Yeah, they've gone, and my wife texts me saying, "Oh, Ari just said." So my daughter just said, "There's two Abus now," which basically means two dads. So welcome to the family, Riz. Welcome to the family.
Thank you for having me.
No, definitely, man. It's my pleasure. Now, we got to briefly meet at the London meetup I think it's 2 weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and that was a pleasure. We didn't get to like really spend proper time together. It was so busy, but I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah. And it was great to have you there. And that's something that I really want to do because obviously we don't really know each other, to be honest.
Yeah,
we've not. I think before that we had just hi bye sort of, a good picture, that sort of thing on socials, but otherwise, yeah, it was great to be able to have you there and to have other traders of similar notion there as well. And yeah, hopefully, how was the event? How did you find it?
Yeah. No, I found it really good in that aspect that I'm not really into that social trading, networking kind of.
Yeah.
Like I've been very well. I've been like very to myself.
Mm-hmm. It's not a tunnel vision, yeah, focus.
Yeah, even just my whole journey, like how I started with again into trading, and it was I would say a very lonely journey. It was it was quite
How did you get into trading? That's normally where we start anyway.
Yeah, I mean we can start going that route as well. Definitely, long story, but yeah, now the event itself, I really enjoyed it because I not really like get to know traders on this level that you get to speak to them, you see them, whereas it's normally over just like online or it's a persona behind, like you don't really know who you're talking to.
Exactly, yeah.
And then but really meeting somebody like even yourself, like I've been following you for like I think 3-4 years on Instagram, and I've seen your journey where you've come from and where you are now, and yeah, so just like connecting with people, like-minded people, and kind of similar on the same journey, and yeah, so that was really good event-wise. Yeah, I hadn't attended proper one, like an event like that kind of event before. You meeting traders, and I really like that speed dating.
The speed dating, you like
so
that.
You meet like in such a short period of time, so many different personalities.
That's all right. Yeah.
So many different personalities, different backgrounds. All over the country. Very, very different
experience
stages.
levels, different pairs, different styles.
Yeah.
And
I met one guy, he was telling me he has a family, kids, he's a 40, and like for me, I respect that so much.
Yeah, there's a couple there who are at that stage in life,
Like regardless where you are, I mean, there's younger ones, 18-year-olds, even 15-year-olds. I'm on Twitter. So I'm like, I see the traders there as well.
Huge range, yeah.
Huge range of different work-wise as well, the background where they're coming from, families, and they have like full-time jobs, they have families, and then they're dedicating their time to learning to trading, and I respect that so much.
100%. 100%. And that's the thing with trading, I think, is that there is no picture of this is a picture-perfect person. You know what I mean? There isn't you need to look like this or be this way or be this old or have this experience or live this life. It is literally from someone who's 6, as long as you can understand the concepts, you could be 14, 13, whatever, all the way up until you're like 60 or 70, it doesn't matter. It's about, I think it boils down to the mindset. And this was something I was actually going to ask you, because obviously as someone who is consistent and been through that journey, and as someone who's done it, as you said, a bit more of a sort of the lonely and more sort of your path and focused on that, which I think is necessary anyway. Do you think, how like, especially in the teaching space, everyone's like, anyone can be a trader. You just have to work hard and stuff like that. And I was literally thinking about it this morning, and I was thinking like, is that true though? Is that actually true? Can anyone, like it is possible for anyone, but should anyone try? Like I believe that there are certain attributes that you should probably have as an individual. Obviously entrepreneurship in that sense, like having that sort of mindset of not being average or living that average life is one. But more importantly, like having a analytical mind, I think is very important, because that's essentially what you're doing day in, day out. You're analyzing. So if you sort of don't have that analytical mind, it's going to be a very difficult process.
100%. 100%. What I can add to that is there's certain, like, for me, how I see it is anyone can try. Like, there is nothing really that you cannot, like, if you really put your mind to it, and if you really want to do it, I don't think there's anything that you cannot do in that aspect. Whereas there's certain qualities you must develop and kind of grow into in order to become that consistent trader. Whereas everybody, how I see it and how the whole world kind of sees it is, waking up, laptop, phone, you're on the beach. It doesn't work like that.
Money's there, bang.
No, it doesn't work like there is. It's a profession. It's a skill. And like any profession, there are certain qualities you must possess in order to be successful in that field.
That's it.
For example, like a footballer, there's certain qualities they must have. Outside of talent. How I see it, talent and hard work, they work kind of
hand in hand. Talent won't get you so far.
Exactly. So you can be very talented in something, no hard work, not gonna get there.
Well, you see a lot of talented individuals in many different industries who get to a certain level, but because of that lack of work ethic, it's a fleeting moment. It's just a highlight. It's just one snap. You know what I mean? And that's it. There's no longevity compared to people like, let's say, Ronaldo. I'm not a big footballer, but I know Ronaldo's like, he's past his prime years, but yet still playing almost at prime level due to the work ethic.
100%. And I think like if you possess those kind of qualities, you can go into any kind of field. But how I see it is that I don't think, like, you can try, but you have to kind of really find your why you want to do it. It's not just you want to do it for the money or you want it for the Lambo, this and that. These kind of things, I would say, they're like short-term motivation kind of thing. So if you're just motivated that you want to get this car, for example, you will try, and then like after a certain period of time, you're like, okay, this is not working. You're going to kind of like give up on it. Whereas if you like have a deeper why, as in why you want to do this, or like there's deeper, like for me, there's more to than just it's
more than the surface level. It's much more within, much more ingrained.
Exactly. Like for me, like every morning why I wake up, I have a reason behind that.
Of course.
It's not like the material things or because I want this or I want this house or I want this. Like my background, like where I come from, like I didn't really have a choice. Like for me, this was kind of thing, and for me, it was like also like an interest. You have to have an interest and passion for it as well.
Exactly, 100%. Like a lot of people don't have that.
100%.
They're missing that, and then they wonder why then they're not getting anywhere. You know, it's like that enthusiasm isn't there. A lot of people, I do get that they were passionate when they started, and due to the journey, due to the hardships and the setbacks, their enthusiasm has been diminished. You know, it's been lowered, and I think that's okay and it's natural. It happened to me, but it's like when you want to start seeing change, you have to increase that enthusiasm, because that's the only thing that's going to allow you to, you know, take a loss and not get hit by it, not get impacted by it. Yes, you don't like it. It's not like you're just like, there's nothing.
Of course.
You still feel it, but it's like you're not feeling it on a level where it's like questioning everything and trying to change everything and calling yourself in a negative headspace, you know. But that enthusiasm allows you, and that deep why allows you to look past that and understand that, okay, you know, I'm passionate about this. I want to grow. So this lesson, you know, this loss is a lesson, and therefore, how can I use it to my advantage rather than using it as like, I can't do this. Look at me. I'm. You know, a lot of people have that. I've had so many messages over the time where it's like, I've seen someone say 1 week or 1 month, and they're like so, you know, enthusiastic because the results are good. And then the next one, they've had either a break even or some losses, and there's suddenly the whole other side of the spectrum. They're like, I suck, you know, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just blowing accounts. I don't know if this is for me. And it's like, and the thing is, it's not like they're not passionate. They were passionate. It's just that their enthusiasm gets diminished because they just associate any form of loss and pain with the last 2 years, the last 3 years. This much money I've lost, this much money I paid to whatever various places. and they just associate anytime there is a negative, in terms of even just one loss or a string of losses, which are natural, they happen in the market. They just associate it to that, and then they're not allowing themselves to grow. They're not allowing themselves to look forward instead of back. But how long have you been trading for?
So I've been trading for 5 years now.
5 years, nice.
5 years. So
you started young, 21 then, yeah?
Yeah. So but I'll explain a little bit about my own journey. So 2017, I was first introduced to crypto.
Okay. Yeah.
This was summer 2017. So August.
Is it before the
bull run?
Yeah.
Before the big run. So
perfect timing.
Well, there's a story about that.
There always is. That's the thing. That's the thing in this space. It's never like it's all good. You know what I mean? There's always a story, and I love it. That's what I love about it.
And everybody has a different story.
Exactly. Yeah.
August 2017. So I was already in a part of quite young, entrepreneurial-minded people. So I was in personal shopping before this.
Oh, nice.
So I started that 2017. So
was that like a personal like project or like passion in a way, or was that like a job?
No. So basically, how it started off was I was at university, and I was always into sneakers, fashion, that kind of thing. And I started off. There was one pair of shoes. I don't know how much you're into fashion or into like sneakers. Like
my wife dresses me, bro. I don't know it, honestly.
But you know about Yeezys, right?
I know about
the Kanye West, all hype. So
especially back then as well.
Back then,
you're much bigger back then.
Yeah. So his first collaboration was with Nike, and then he came to Adidas in 2000. I think it was 16, 17. That like when that kind of period started, and the first collaboration I remember with Nike, like I actually wanted that shoe, and I couldn't. The bots literally sold out within seconds. Then he came out with Adidas, and I was like, I have to get my hands on this pair. Like regardless, like I need it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like I want that pair, and I knew it was limited as well. And first drop happened, same thing. Like the website crashed within like 30 seconds. All the pairs are gone. You know, you're left with nothing. So I started going on internet forums, like trying to find out how I could how I can get my hands on this pair of shoe. And then so I started connecting with people, and that was my first year of uni as well. So I learned a little bit of programming at the time.
Oh, nice.
And then we went on to then getting into the whole botting.
Proper going for it.
Yeah. And then that's how it kind of started.
That's nice then.
And so that whole community there, and then we were always looking for like, what's next? What else is there? And these people are there, like good knowledge.
Would you say it's like the same as learning any skill? Like with trading, obviously getting around people with experience, learning, obviously, putting in that time, and then taking action.
Yeah, 100%.
Same principle,
like-minded thing, I would say. Just trying things, and how I see it is you just keep trying different things, and eventually something works out.
Yeah.
And I know as well, like a lot of people made good, like they're still making money in that field. Whereas like for me, it was more short-lived. It was short-term. Like
was it like just to pass uni sort of time?
Yeah, it was like for me like something on the side that I can do on the side. Like it was.
And plus, it was because you wanted that shoe yourself.
Yeah, and then it kind of became like my hobby / I can make like
a little bit of side.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably a good side income, I can imagine.
At that time, it was really good. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like for me, that was like that first taste of what feels like
entrepreneurship and business.
And I have the money. Like I'm traveling around the world. I can see. Like I bought my first car, and I helped my brother quite a lot. And so for me, so 2017. We were kids there, and there was like other kids in that group. We were like 17, 18, 19 kind of age, and one of them was talking about Ethereum, 2017 summer, and didn't really know anything about crypto, Bitcoin, nothing. I heard about Bitcoin before because it was used on dark web.
Yeah.
And there's sort of a few guys there that had used dark web for
whatever.
Yeah. So like obviously you find out about these things.
Yeah.
And so that's the first time I heard about Ethereum. Then I saw somebody posting on, I think, Instagram about it. Started then looking deeper and like digging in it. And then my brother-in-law, he started investing in like October. And he made quite a beast, man. It was like, you know what, jump on. I had like done a little bit of research before that. I was like, okay, look, this is somebody I know, trust. And then I went and done my own kind of like 2-3 weeks of research and like active research. Now,
Proper, yeah.
now this is now where I've seen, okay, look, there's something there.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time he got into Cardano like 2 cents, and that went to like $3.
Yeah.
So that was the whole that crypto journey, and then from there, so I started with crypto and then got into FX.
Yeah.
That whole
Kind of like go hand in hand nowadays, don't it? Like, there's no way that you're getting into crypto and never hear of FX.
Exactly.
Or come across some FX people or vice versa.
yeah, or you're in FX and you don't hear about crypto.
Exactly, yeah.
So
or NFTs nowadays as well.
That's the new hype.
It's a wild one right now.
Yeah. So bear market 2018 came. Market came crashing.
Can I tell you one thing? I got in at the start of that bear market. I got in at, I remember XRP $1, and then my highest purchase was $2.20 or something.
Okay.
Something mad.
Yeah.
And then when it came down, then that's when I learned the first taste of the market phases, the importance of not jumping in on the hype. You know, because the funny thing is, I'd been following someone, you know, and what their calls were for, you know, during that period. And at the time, I think it was not. I don't think it was their first bull run, but I think they also were kind of just thought it was going to keep going. And I followed their calls, and they were right all the way. You know, they were calling the XRP, for example, when it was at 20 cents, 15 cents, before it went even to 70 or 80 or anything higher. So when it was coming down, they were there like, you know, it's going to make a high low. Yeah, 61.8's here. It's going to make a high low, you know, here, and then it's going to go to the middle, and then just kept going down. And I was like, cool. Funnily enough, though, now I think they learned from that experience, because now when this bull run's happening, it's the opposite. It was when it was at the highs, it's like, nope.
Be cautious.
Be very cautious.
And
they were right?
Yeah.
Because now they've learned from that experience. So it's amazing to observe that easily back then you could be attacked for like, oh, you were wrong, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like, no one actually knows. No one really knows when's this going to happen. You can have your indicators, you can have your patterns, but the best thing you can possibly do is just be cautious, you know, just when all-time highs have been made, you're in uncharted territory, you know? And so it was amazing to observe like this same person, you know, learn from that experience, and also for me to learn from a bear market first, for me was probably better than me learning, you know, going through a bull market, because I probably would never have taken profit anyway.
So that was a little bit with me as well. As in, I put in a little bit of money and made quite like unrealized gains, but luckily I actually took some out as well, because for me at the time, 21, and you know, seeing like 6 figures, for example, in your portfolio when you're still at uni, and I took some out. But yeah, so that everyone thought, you know, keep going higher and higher, until you realize, okay, this is not happening anymore. And then I was like, look, I've seen there's money to be made here. Like, there's money to be made in the markets. Like, I want to get involved. I want to dig deeper now. Like, I want to learn. I want to know how things work.
It gotten your attention. You know?
Exactly. And I come from an engineering background, so for me, how I work is, I always want to find out the way things work. Like, for me, I need to know why. For example, like, even as a kid, I was always so what do you call it?
Interested, fascinated.
Yeah, exactly. Like
just like how this is put together, you know.
I just wonder, like, for example, like even now to this day, even after having studied all of that, like, for example, I go to the airport, and then you see this 200-ton big, massive plane. And it flies you from one side of the world to the other side of the world. And like to this day, like, it still fascinates me. Like, it amazes me how like humans created that. Yeah. And like it gets you from A to B, like across the world
in X amount of time. And
exactly. So
this many people.
Yeah.
And everything.
So now, obviously, understanding how even the physics behind that work. So it was a similar way. Like, I want to see like how the markets work now. So I was always into this. Like, I would question things. I want to find out things, and that's then how I got into FX. Then during that bear market, started learning about FX, baby pips. I was like digging deeper in that sense. Like, what's there? Took a course, paid for a course with somebody I thought was doing okay.
Just doing it,
yeah. And I'll be 100% actually. Before that, I started with that same person, Signals.
Yeah. Okay. Classic.
So, yeah. So maybe I think it was 6 months before that. So just like when the bear market was happening, then I signed up to that Signal service, but really quickly realized that even though that trader was making money, he was profitable, he was making money for himself, that Signals is not really feasible.
You have to copy identical, and the fact is normally they take the trade and then send it, so there's a slight difference, which makes a big difference in terms of RR and everything. But more importantly, you have to take every single trade.
That's the point.
Right?
That's where I was
and it's
missing.
hard.
That's where I was going wrong.
Yeah.
Is basically, for example, he was profitable the way he was doing signals. There was nothing thingy there. But for example, if we post 10 trades.
And you've only taken 2 of them.
If you're only taking 2 and there was 2 losses, that's only you're seeing.
Yeah.
And it was like throughout the day, 24 hours, you know, you're not there at that exact moment to place that trade. Like you might have seen it 5 minutes later and the market has moved now. So that kind of thing. And for me, quickly learned as well, like I don't want to be dependent on somebody else. For example, this guy goes tomorrow. Exactly. And I'm basing my income of him now.
Yeah.
That's not me. So like I don't.
Better to have that self-empowerment.
Exactly. So I rather go and learn the hard route myself, and basically just try to figure it out myself, and then done the course, retail strategy. But I have to say I learned quite a lot.
Yeah.
Like even though the technicals might have not been what they're now.
Yeah.
Or the retail strategy, they didn't work for me.
Yeah.
But I learned certain other things like risk management. Like I've never blown an account in my life.
Amazing.
So my journey where it started from, I took that course, FX, put money in my on my thingy, IC broker, IC markets on the broker, and he told me, for example, risk management, you can't place more than 1% per trade. Or at that time, it was if you have £1,000 in your account, you're placing maximum 0.01 lot per trade. And so these kind of things, I think, helped me as my journey over time.
Of course.
So I do not regret having done that course, for example, or having done multiple courses, because there's certain aspects that I've taken from each.
Exactly. Yeah.
And grown over time now.
That's the thing. But that's a mindset that you've adopted. Whilst there's some people you will come across where they did learn something, they did get something from there, but they can't see it because they're just seeing this negative, or I paid this, or this guy did this, or whatever. Same with me. I can easily say that. I've always said as well. I did a course, a well-known course at the time, retail strategy. But the thing is, if I never learned that, I would never have been able to get to where I am now. That was the start. That was the first thing I ever did. And that, again, same. Yes, it may have been technical aspect, could have been better, but at the end of the day, back then, even that was better than zero, without me knowing anything, you know?
Exactly.
And it was a good foundational course.
Exactly.
I would always say that. It's a good foundational course. And it's great that you have that mindset to be able to be a sponge, you know, and just be able to soak that up and take the positives. Yeah. And amazing that you haven't blown an account, man. That's incredible, bro.
It's one thing, every trader, you know, that comes I've blown this many accounts, I've done this, I've lost this much amount of money. But, I'm quite quite proud of that.
I think definitely.
That I came and I kind of went to the route that I want to learn actively. I don't want to just deposit money into my account and just try to trade crazy lots and try to flip my £1,000 account to £10,000 account.
At that point though, where you'd already done the crypto stuff, right?
So
would you say it helped to have a cash buffer? Or a good financial foundation, because that's something I'm always stressing to traders. Yeah. Would you say that was really beneficial for you to kind of have a better controlled mindset? You probably had that anyways, in terms of your mindset was already focused on being disciplined and being your best. It seems that I get this feeling from you already that you are very a driven person of being your best, not bothered about anything else, but being your best, performing at your best as well. But was that a factor that helped you to do that? Would you say?
No, I appreciate that you see that as well. But so sorry. So
in terms of having the financial foundation, it happens to me, bro.
I
go blank sometimes. Sometimes I'm just thinking.
So I was still doing personal shopping at the time. So that was doing quite well monthly.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a very good buffer that was on the side. Wasn't spending that much time on it, and having that was good for me. Whereas now I had time to study. Yeah. It was not, I have to make X amount of money now.
Yeah.
It was more for me, I saw the opportunity and potential in this.
The long term.
The long term, exactly. And I was these markets are not going anywhere. Whereas the crypto, I thought, okay, look, it's risky. like
There's the cycle.
the 2017, like, whereas now Bitcoin has kind of proven the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas 2017 was still quite young. It was still like
Proving itself. The institutions still needing to step in, and
so,
regulation now. Obviously, we're getting to that stage, so it's getting there.
So 2018, like crypto. Okay, look, this is risky. This not really sure about this.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas FX, it's not going anywhere. It's being traded day in, day out. It's $4 trillion market. There's transactions happening every single day, and that market's not going anywhere. Like, you know, dollar's not collapsing anytime soon. So for me, I was like, look, this is a long-term route. This is where I want to be more involved. Whereas compared to crypto, was more like investment side.
Really long.
So having that 100%, like having that buffer kind of thing. That's something that we spoke at the meetup as well. With yourself as well. That as like a lot of the people, they come in like, bro, I have £1,000 to my name. Where should I invest? Bro, the first thing you should do is invest in yourself. Invest in your own education, financial literacy, like all these things that I didn't grow up with.
Financial literacy, you can buy a book like Richest Man in Babylon, probably £10, £5. That will teach you enough to get you started, you know, get you on, and that's £5-10.
Like like instead of trying to invest £1,000 into like stocks, and trying to flip that into like 10, 100k, like invest that £1,000 in yourself and learn skills that you can then utilize and go further. Like, then that £1,000 is not gonna.
It's not gonna do it.
Like even if you do,
It's because you see these these videos on YouTube. Like, I just saw one the other day where it's like flipped 1,000 to 1,000,000, and it's literally, you know, and bear in mind and the funny thing is, and this just proves how messed up a lot of people's minds are, is that account was brand new, so it wasn't even like they had loads of subscribers or anything, but that video was like one of their first videos, and that's gone to like 30, 40, 50k views because people are just interested. Can I do 1k to whatever million, you know?
But see, this is the problem with this whole industry, and with 90% of the majority of the world. Like, everybody wants the easy route. Everybody wants that £1,000 to 100k. That one. Like, first you need to focus on. If you want to make £1 million, first thing you're going to focus is making your first £10,000. Then you want to focus on your first £100,000. Then you want to focus on
$250,000.
Exactly, that's how you build up. Whereas, like, how I see it is, like, everybody gets into the game. Everybody just wants to shoot for that. You know, I want to make 6 figures this year. I want to make this. I want to make that. It's possible. Everything is possible. There's nothing that's not possible. But it's having that. It's like, I would say, like, trading, investing is 70% mindset. It is psychology, it's mindset, it's having that long-term approach to anything, I would say. Like, for example, like, I know you're into boxing now, can you expect, like, I for example, like, let's say 3 months down the line, I'm going to put you in a ring. Do you think you're going to be able to compete at a high level against a professional boxer in that ring in 3 months time?
Never.
It's not possible.
See, the thing is, like, I would have thought, let's say years ago when I was training and stuff, but I was still, what's the word for it? It's like unaware, you know, of what an elite level boxer can do, you know. So when I think I did a sparring once randomly. I went to a gym and I sparred I think he was semi-professional, I believe, and even him, just in his movement, in his technique, in his breath work and everything, and his mindset and his drive. There was a huge difference in someone who just likes boxing and was just training by himself versus the person who is dedicated, you know, his life basically is boxing.
And how I see it is, trading is an exact elite skill. It's not something that you can just wake up and do something on the side, or, you know, you can choose to do it as a part-time thing. Like, anybody who asks me about it, I'm like, it's a skill, and you have to give it time and let it develop. And if you're serious about it, give yourself 12, 18, 2 years. Like, now, I feel like your growth could be so accelerated with the amount of education, the amount of free information. If you choose to go down the route of taking a mentorship or following somebody that has proven to himself that he's profitable, he has a proven profitable strategy, and then it's more like you have to put in the work yourself as well. So, so for me, how I see it is, if you give yourself an amount of time and you really put in the work, you can achieve it. But there's certain qualities you must dominate, as you saw. Like it's a growth, self-growth journey. And there's certain, like where I'm right now, like compared to 2 years ago, as my own self, there's so many things I've discovered about my own self, and that I'm so thankful for.
I think that's probably the most enjoyable aspect of trading in the end. So like, there's obviously, of course, you get time freedom and financial freedom, stuff like that. But I think in the end, really, majority of people, when I get feedback from them, is that they have learned so much about themselves, excelled so much about themselves because of that, and they're way more insightful about themselves, which, as you said, majority of the world, they just don't, in terms of like majority of the world think in the wrong way. And usually it's because they don't actually, they never look at what's happening inside. They never look at, where am I slacking? Where can I improve? What tendencies do I have? Am I a greedy person? Am I a patient person? Am I someone who's fearful? And trading forces you to look at that.
Exactly.
If you're going to do it, if you're going to go through that journey, it'll put a mirror to you and
it's
show
a dark
you.
mirror. It's a dark mirror, whereas you will learn a lot about yourself, greed, fear, and then you're kind of forced to develop these skills, discipline. For example, the biggest thing I would say when it comes to trading is discipline. Being able to understand when not to take a trade. Like, is your edge being presented, or are you just trading out of emotions? And that, how I see it is, as humans, we cannot eliminate emotions, but we can control them.
Exactly, you can manage them better.
We can manage them, exactly. And how do you go on to manage your emotions? By creating a system, creating a plan, and that's basically what accelerated my journey. Where, I'll be honest with you, there was a period of my time where I was trying, and it was not working. And all I'm seeing is on Instagram, people posting a 20-yard trade there. I'm thinking, how are they catching 20-yard trades every single day? And I'm there, sat there, and it's not working for me. What am I doing wrong? Like, even though I'm doing everything. And at that moment, I took like a step back. I was like, look, I understand all the technicals. I understand the whole concepts, everything. Why am I not seeing the results? And that was a period of my time where I kind of like took a step back from the whole social media, like Instagram following, like traders, all this stuff. And I was like, look, I have to now develop my own system. And how I see it is that everybody sees the market in a very, we might trade similar concepts, but we see everything in a different way. Like each trader has their own unique edge and understanding of the market. You might see something that I might not see, whereas I might see.
I always try to use an example of perception, right? So whilst you're sat here, let's say someone else was sat there and someone else was sat over there, and they're all looking at me. In your perception, you might look at me and go, hey, he's a tall guy. This guy might be like, he's a bit short, average. The other guy might think I'm short, you know what I mean? But yeah, who's true? Who's right?
Exactly.
All of them are right for themselves.
There's no right or wrong in the market.
And it's the same in the market. Like, someone can look at, I've seen it, I love it, where I've seen it happen so often, where in the same community, in my community and other communities on social media, I see the contrast, the polar opposites. Oh, the market's amazing this week. So many opportunities. Oh, the market's a mess. I can't see anything. It's so choppy, right? But the same pairs, same market, same time. And that is perfect proof that we can look at the same thing and see something completely
different. Exactly. And like, that's the thing, like we might have done the same course, for example. We're in the same community and we've learned the same concept, but I might see something that you might see differently. And how I say to everybody else, like everybody I interact with, is that you have to develop your own understanding of the market, collect your own data, own statistics, build your own system to your own understanding of the market. Like what works for you, like what makes sense to you. And that's where I had kind of my breakthrough, I would say. Like for me, whereas before it was more like I'm trying to catch every move, and it's like it's
very erratic, you know.
It's erratic.
I gave an analogy actually this last week. I worked out an analogy when I was talking, because a lot of my growth and a lot of my thoughts comes from me interacting with traders, like doing one-to-ones or talking in the community. So like I'm constantly growing or thinking of new ways to be able to try and portray thoughts and stuff, because again, it's that same principle of perception. Like I could explain something to you and you understand it, but it's the same knowledge, but this person don't get it because it's just not for him. It's not
100%.
it's not clicking for
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
So you need to, and as a mentor, as a teacher, that's where it gets a bit difficult because I could just sit here and say the same thing over and over again because I know it works for you or a few other people. But as a teacher, it's my responsibility to try and say, how can I make that same information relate to this guy who's not getting it or that guy who's also not getting it? And then I might twist it slightly or change it slightly so he gets it now. But still, now I still need to work out how he's going to get it, you know? So like one analogy I give for what you were just talking about is essentially think of hunting. There's two types of hunting. One is where you go hunting for the animal. You go tracking for it, trying to chase it down.
Yeah.
So when we're in the markets, if we're going to try and chase down a trade, we're going to find a trade.
We're going to find a trade.
Right?
Yeah.
There might be a little sound over there. Bang, I'm taking a trade there.
Actively.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But when you actively sit back and let the prey come to you, you're letting the circumstance, the trade present itself to you, then you act.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
And that's a very similar analogy that I've kind of developed myself.
Amazing. Yeah.
You can have obviously hundreds of different animals.
That's why we're Riz.
Obviously, there's certain things in common.
That's it.
And so for example, like you could specialize in hunting one specific animal, where you learn all the behaviors and traits of this animal, so you know exactly what time he wakes up, what time he's out, and then you let it come to you.
Yeah.
And that's where you, I think, as a trader, grow as well. 100%. Where you know, focus down on 1-2 pairs. Like I only trade EU and GU.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
2 pairs, and I started off first EU. Pretty much, I think last year or 2021, I only traded EU mainly, and then now 2022 more. I tried because kind of got more.
You want
of
to
that.
grow. You want to. Sometimes you want to get a little different as well, you know. And plus, as long as you can manage it, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, so I mean, for beginners, I think in general, like you know, if you focus on 1-2 pairs, and for me, I like 2 pairs now because I know exactly what I'm looking for. So I've developed my system in a way where I know exactly. Look, these are my entry criteria. These are the things I'm looking for, and once these certain things have happened, I pull the trigger.
Yeah. Regardless of anything.
Yeah, so there's no emotions involved. Like that's how I came over that period of like that breakthrough kind of thing, is when I put in that system, and that was to my own understanding of the market, and from my own data and back testing, forward testing, live testing, and now coming up to 2 pairs where I'm actively when I'm on my trading session, look at the 2 pairs, and sometimes what I've seen is EU might give me my entry, whereas GU might not, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I might sit all day on EU and my entry criteria is not filled. I'm not taking that trade, whereas it's filled on GU now.
Yeah.
So for me now, I think I'm a bit more sharper.
Just to give you that more opportunities
exactly.
without being aggressive or anything. You're still doing the exact same thing.
Exactly. So now it's more like if EU fills me, I'm fine. Like, but GU might not.
Yeah.
Whereas now GU has filled my entry and
EU hasn't.
Yeah. And this is again like growth over time. Like
first
you learn with like 1 pair, you see what's working, what's not working, and then once you've kind of developed your own system and go from there, then you can kind of like add and tweak things and go from there. Like right now I think I'm quite happy with the way I'm working. Quite happy.
Definitely, mate, man. At the end of the day, as long as you're consistent and you're comfortable, and you know you're comfortable in taking your execution, nothing else matters. It could be the craziest strategy, you know what I mean? This is where people I feel like they just feel pressure to trade a certain way as well sometimes, or to be a certain way, and as you said, getting specific. So that's something that I am so big on. Like I have toyed with the idea of, look, why don't I just give specific entry draws to follow? And I think, of course, for some it would work, right? There will be some who may resonate with those, but there's still going to be a large number who they need that specifics for them. As you said, their perception of what they see. So that's why I try and focus, and what we try and focus with the Vipers is that aspect of, here's obviously knowledge, right? Here's how to read the market. These are the things to look out for. Here's all the information about habits and what can make you a successful person, and in turn make you a successful trader. And we give consistent and constant examples of repeatable processes and saying, look, this is how you put it together. Here, ask questions. Like we do a webinar every Friday for Q&As, right? And it's like, ask questions and we will help you build a repeatable process. We'll help you, we'll look through your journal. We'll do this, we'll do that. but I feel like that is the missing link, you know. And I was speaking to someone yesterday. I think it was yesterday or the day before, something like that. But basically, when people, it was yesterday. I was doing a meal with one of the Vipers, a few of the Vipers, sorry, and one of them in particular said, when I stopped turning up, I love the group, I love the community, but when I stopped turning up to the webinars, I got more consistent because it allowed me to, you know, because on the webinar I might hear something that sounds good and I'll try it. And then I would go off what actually, you know, is what I'm seeing, and I'll try that, and it would keep throwing me off. So he actually, community-wise, he's great, but he had to stop going to the webinars because that was what was, making him kind of like, that sounds really good. He's saying it as well, so let me try that.
Yeah.
When instead it was like, as soon as he stopped doing that and just went inside, and focused on what do I see. So one pair again, he loves GJ. Actually, to be fair, he's doing an episode after you, King Yusuf. But saying like he understands that pair. He knows what, you know, like you said, when you know what time the prey's going to sleep and how it moves and what it looks for and where it's, you know, sort of
where
spots are.
Yeah.
It's more natural to you. You're making your job 10 times easier rather than going and chasing and you know, you having to do the work. You're letting the work be done for you. You know, people want signals. I always say, if you want signals, you can have them. The market's giving you signals. You know what I mean? Let the market give you the bullish signal in terms of the buying signal, right? Or the selling signal. Let it give you when you need to execute and not. And the only way you can do that is, essentially, the best way to describe it is, you know, if you have, I think you could have 2 or 3 different entry draws, right? Yeah. That's specific enough, not overdoing it, but specific enough to give you a mixture to look for. So you're not just, because sometimes if you just have one,
if you're too refined, then you'll be like getting FOMO as well.
Very more frustration, and it might not give you enough for what you're looking for potentially. Yeah. So 2 or 3. But essentially, it's a simple process of like literally having 3 pictures of what you need to see, and literally just kind of like holding it up to the market. If that presents itself, there you execute it. So it's literally a checklist. And you know, as you said earlier, though, it's the discipline. You know, a lot of 70% mindset. That's the bit. Like, because anyone can learn technicals. That's what I've said. Anyone can learn about chart work. Similar with crypto. That's why crypto is a bit different, where it's heavily research based. Yes, you can use technicals to dictate things as well and decisions. But in terms of investment long term and longevity into a good project, that's research based. That is, you know, anyone can go and do research if they choose, but how many people do, you know? That's the big thing. One thing I did want to ask you about though, bro, is like, obviously you're doing a lot of these things whilst doing university. And a lot of these things were, you know, thankfully, and because of your hard work, doing very well. So what allowed you to stay driven to complete university? And not only complete it, I think you did you say you do a master's in it as well, right? Because a lot of people message me all the time, like, and they've not got results yet, and they're like, I want to quit uni, I want to quit my job, and I always told them, no. But with you, you've actually dedicated and stuck through that whilst doing all these other things successfully.
So I'll say a little bit about. So my parents, they don't come from educated background, so they grew up in Pakistan, and their parents couldn't afford to send them to university, for example. Everything is private. So they came to the UK and kind of built a base here so that we can go and do something great. And it was always my parents' wish that, you know, like we came to the UK, all our kids, you know, all their kids study. But for me, it was like, I was always good at school. Like I was just, I wouldn't say a nerd.
You were a sponge, right? You enjoyed knowledge.
Yeah, like for me, like to this day, I'm a learner. Like for me, like learning is one thing that, regardless at what stage you are in, like the day you stop learning, it's the day you stop growing. So university.
So they say knowledge is power.
100%. And what fascinates me is there's so much knowledge out there in the world. There's so much knowledge out there that it's not possible that, you know, you can take all of that in. Like there's so many things, I have so many interests in different things that I want to take into as well, but it's just like don't want too much as well, but there's so many things. But so university was my parents' wish, and the other thing is I'm the oldest son in an Asian family. My parents, my dad's retired.
You had to set that tone.
My dad's retired, and so that means responsibility falls under on me. So my parents, they come from nothing. So they came to the UK my dad came to the UK 20 years ago, £1,000 his name. and after having lost everything, like I was
Bigger story
yeah,
behind it.
yeah. So so for my family, the biggest thing was like you have to go into like education and kind of like build something for yourself. Like, they didn't want it for themselves. It was more like so that we have a good future, so our kids can have a comfortable life that they
Didn't get to have.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, that was the biggest thing. I'm the older son in Asian household. Like the responsibility is gonna fall on me. Like for me, university, I have to have something to my name.
And did you use that as a not motivation, but as a why, as a maybe like a you used it in a positive light? Because you probably met people where they're in the similar situation, but they use it as a negative, you know, and they see, you know, they don't want that responsibility, and they try and, you know, I got too much weight on my shoulders, and they just fade off. Yeah. But it seems like you've actually, you know, embraced it,
100%.
And actually, in essence, maybe even enjoyed it as a challenge to push yourself.
Like I remember times where it was tough. Like I was working alongside university. I also had to work and fund my own life. Like when I was 16, 17, I started working when I was like 15.
Yeah.
I haven't taken a single penny from my parents since I'm 17.
Amazing.
And like I had to go to university. Like I used to work a weekend job at Domino's and deliveries, and just so I can pay for my own car, fuel, insurance, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't like my dad paid for my insurance, my dad paid for my car, everything I had to do myself. So having that, going to that university route was like so I can build a foundation for my future life. Like regardless what happens, it's something I can fall back to.
Yeah.
So for me,
that's what I say as well. Yeah.
And
because otherwise your options are very limited and not really something you can live off, really.
Because business, I would say, is risky. It can pay off very well.
Yeah.
But equally, it cannot work as well.
It's a changing climate too. So like it can do well
at one time.
Yeah, and then the climate can change very quickly. Yeah.
And I have experienced that firsthand. My dad had 2 restaurants in Germany, like pizzeria, and he had an accident. And health-wise, completely, he was in hospital for 2 years. Business gone. From one day to the next day. We were literally like, when we were growing up, middle class. But once that happened, it was...
everything shifted.
He lost everything. Yeah. Fell into debt. And we were young. I was like 6, 7 years old and all this stuff. So I have seen firsthand, like business can go wrong. Business can go from one day doing really well, the next day, you know. It's also like one thing I would say, like, regardless where you are, you always have to stay humble. Yep. You don't know, like, you have something today, it might be gone tomorrow.
Exactly.
So with business, it's one thing. It can do really well in one period of time. It can do in the next day, you know, it's climate, the
anything can happen, right? The climate can change, but like you said, health.
Yeah.
Health is a big one. Yeah. That's why, you know, that's why they say, like, you're not truly wealthy until
you have health.
Yeah, until you have health, but then also until you're making money and you don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
Because if the time comes when, if time comes when your health does suffer, but then you can't make an income, the stress then adds to that suffering in terms of health. But when you're able to have a position where even if you die, that money that you made is making you money, that is the principle of wealth, true wealth. You know, it's not about the figure. There's no figure. I don't think you need like $1 billion to do that either. 100%. I literally think you could probably do that and achieve something very wholesome, and being able to provide for, you know, future generations, for example, probably off a few million. Yeah. Right? when we involve inflation, it's going to keep growing. Yeah. But it's not like you need to be a billionaire to do that or have hundreds of millions to do that. And don't get me wrong, to get to millions isn't no joke. It's not like that's easy. It's easy, but it's definitely achievable.
Everyone has their like own figure. Yeah, like for you, it's like your freedom might be different to my freedom.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, so the main thing about why I stuck with university was I had to kind of have something that I can fall back to. Mm-hmm. Even though I knew when I was 15, 16, I knew for a fact that like I've always had this entrepreneurship mind.
Yeah.
Even in school, I was selling like flipping PSPs. I'm not joking to you. 100% true story. I don't know when you get.
I used to sell like chocolates and stuff, like cookies and that.
In year 9, at that period of time, eBay and PayPal wasn't very new.
Yeah, it would have been.
So their kids, their parents, they didn't really trust buying things online.
On the internet, yeah.
So I had an older sister use her eBay account, buy phones, and then sell them like £20 to £8 on top. In school.
That's good.
And then they would give me cash, and then So I started off like, I always knew like for me, like regardless,
You were gonna do
I
something.
was gonna do something. Yeah, I didn't know what, but I knew. That's kind of like that's even the personal shopping and everything. Like I knew that was outside. I was university. I could have quit uni.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like everyone comes to me normally without any success or anything to fall back
And they
on,
say
and say
that
they want
we
to
want to
quit.
quit uni. Like,
So then that's why I was so interested that the fact that not only did you stick to it,
yeah,
whilst having something that was, you know, that you could have quit and used, but also that you did a master's, so which meant that you went one step to two step.
yeah.
You know?
And that reason was also because I was enrolled in a bachelor course, and in my 2 year I was like, you know what, we want you to do a master's course, and it was accelerated 1 year, and I was like,
Amazing,
you know,
yeah.
and I was like, I know for a fact,
You can
if
do
I
it.
leave uni,
Yeah.
I'm never gonna come back.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I'll do an extra year and have that extra qualification further down the line. That master's might become useful to me.
Yeah.
So
Plus, you said you like, even growing up, you were, it was not a passion maybe, but like you enjoyed that.
yeah,
Your
100%.
mind was like that. So
like
it's
even
like
today
maybe a
for me,
no-brainer for you.
what I studied, I don't regret it. I'm grateful for it. And there's so many skills that you will learn at university that you will not learn while sitting on your desk.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Talking to people, interacting with people, working with people from different backgrounds and different levels. Like engineering was a lot of group work, so you have to now
Plus, you're in
collaborate.
a stage of your life as well where you're not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like secondary
Yeah.
school, college, and all that.
Responsibilities are falling up
Yeah.
onto you. Yeah.
And you're getting your first taste of money management. What do most students
Yeah.
do?
They blow it.
They blow it
Yeah.
in the first couple months, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even go uni. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
yeah, I didn't go uni. The reason was because I didn't have that topic, you know, that subject that was interesting me.
Okay.
And I had a feeling that if I just went for the sake of it,
Yeah.
I would have ended up in just that crowd that,
Yeah.
you know, I had a feeling that I wouldn't
Yeah.
do what I was meant to go and do.
Yeah.
So I thought better, you know, I had that mindset, the entrepreneurial mindset. So I just started to work and started to trying different things and, you know, classic, you know, things don't work, things do. But I was learning along the way, building experience, building the lessons and the right mindset for business eventually. So by failing a bunch of businesses,
Yeah.
I think eventually I lost 6 figures into, you know, businesses trying until I finally learned a lot enough to understand. And that's when, by that stage, that's when I came across trading. And I realized, and that was, and I said this on, I think on one of the last podcasts, but when I heard of trading, it was one of my friends, he had, you know, done well at trading, and I'd asked him what he did. And literally, it was the first moment in my life, I believe, other than like fighting, like boxing and stuff that I've always, again, passionate about. That was the first time that something in terms of a vocation gave me that passion and that drive. Because I didn't know about money. I didn't know about anything to do with trading. What he said to me was, I trade Forex. That didn't get me yet because I didn't know what that meant. Yeah. But when he said, I trade pound against the euro, I trade, you know, something against the yen, I trade gold. As soon as he said that,
Gold. Yeah.
that sparked my interest. Like, I want to do that. I didn't even know if you could make amazing money from it. I didn't know how it worked. But when he said that, something just literally, we were in a shisha lounge, like some deadbeat shisha lounge in Nottingham. He said that to me, and literally, I wanted to do that, right? I hadn't seen no figures and nothing. I wanted to do that. I already knew. So if I had heard that back in school and I knew there was a course in uni that did that, I would have gone and done that course.
Because that's like the kind of industry that you thought, okay, no, this is something that I want to do. I want to get involved in. Like that fascinates. That's
exactly. I'm already interested. I want to know it inside and out already, just from what you've said. I want to know, how do you do that? How do you trade gold against the dollar? How does that make sense?
That's how I got in, like more deep into it, because you see the figures. I mean, everyone gets involved in it for the money, but if you look at it deeper, like for me, like it fascinates me, like the amount of money that's being moved day in, day out. And I want to be involved in that. And like the whole industry, finance, like, that interests me. And yeah, so that's kind of like journey from uni and getting into trading.
What is now,
And to, basically what it is now.
But it's very interesting because I was looking at your Insta. I said to you, and you traveled a lot, bro. Like, when did you start traveling more recently, or have you traveled, you know, for good, you know, maybe through that uni stage as well?
I'll tell you as well. So I hadn't traveled until I was 18. So my parents,
Didn't go anywhere.
I remember going when I was in primary school. Every summer, all the kids would be telling stories where they've been going to holiday with their parents. They were in Turkey, then Spain, and it was me and my brother every summer. What did we do in the summer? We went to the park, played football. Even though it's still, but it was like we
It's
never got
obviously
the
not being
chance.
able to say, yeah.
We never got the
Not to
chance.
share that with that experience
We
and those
never got,
memories.
yeah, exactly. So when you're in the class and everyone's around you, we travel there with their families, their parents,
Yeah.
everything. Our parents couldn't afford that, and then when I started, 18, coming into make some money, and my parents never stopped us from anything. So they like, as long as we're responsible, they know what where we are, and like they said that themselves that we want you guys to do things that we couldn't give you guys basically. So work hard for things, and so started traveling when I was 18 with my friends first, and I think now probably like 20-25 countries I've seen.
Yeah, man.
Pretty much. That's one hobby, and
It's amazing.
Really,
I love it.
I love traveling as well.
I think it grows you as a person. I say, and I said this before as well. Like, I don't think you really know yourself until you travel.
Yeah, and also there's so much to see in the world. Whereas, like, let's say you're stuck in this one country, like how I see it, like
A lot of people just stay in one city, bro. Like, I know a lot of people where they've never been to London.
That's crazy.
Right? Or they've even never been to Birmingham or Manchester, these smaller cities.
Yeah.
They've only ever stayed in their city and just ventured on the outskirts. And I always wonder, like, what is your perception of the world like then? So, especially, then I understand when people watch the news and they hear of, like, oh, Iraq, Middle East is like this, or Dubai, they're very strict, you can't hold hands in that, and then I understand how they're able to believe it because they know nothing else. And then very interestingly, actually, I went to a place in Canada. It's called New Brunswick, and I went to a particular town, kind of like a village called Doketown, where they have like 2 meg internet. They're all pretty much farmers and that. Lovely people, amazing people, like so hospitable and everything. I stayed in this one place, and they thought mosques were a different type of church. She goes, "Oh, we got 13 different types of churches here. Which one's for Islam? Which one's for the mosques?" Right? And I was like, "No, it's a different religion, yeah." And they don't know because like it's just they're in this bubble, And again, a lot of people they just don't know any better. They just don't. It's not anything like malicious. It's just they haven't had that opportunity sometimes, or they just haven't ventured out or taken that action, or they couldn't. Because like with these guys, they when you're a farmer, if you have no one to look after your land, you got to look after your land, and that's another principle that you can learn from. But travel, man. I love to see it.
Honestly, like
I know a lot of Asian people. If they do travel, it's Pakistan, Morocco, and Turkey. Like they're the 3 hotspots, and that's it.
For me, how I see it is like the world is like a book.
Yep.
If you're in one place, it's like you're only seeing like one page of the whole book, and there's so much you can learn from different cultures, different people. And what I love is whenever I do go to travel, like speaking to the local people, seeing how they are, like interacting with them, and seeing their perception of life, what they're doing, how do they feel about their lives. And there's so many things you will learn, like even with people with very little.
You probably learn the most from them.
And they're happy. I went to Pakistan 2019, just before COVID, first time in my proper understanding of so like when I'm grown up now. The first time we were like little kids.
Of course.
That was like the one trip that my parents took us to. So in 2019, and I visited this family. They have no heating, no hot water, no car, nothing. Like what they have is they go out, the money they make, they have to feed themselves with that. They come home, eat their meal, and that's it. And then that opens your eyes. When you come back here, sometimes we get so involved in our lives, and sometimes think, you might feel like, I'm feeling depressed. Like, I don't have this, but if you just take a step back and count your blessings and look at what you do have, you have a roof over your head, you can go to any restaurant you want to, you can eat, you can go out, you have food on your table, you have heating, you have hot water, and these kind of things, then that kind of grow your perception that there's more to life than just what's made out. Everything we own here, we don't take with us anyway.
That's it.
The only thing that we do take with us is how people remember us, our values, what we leave behind for our people. Like, it's not like
it's the legacy, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like really,
yeah.
you can leave the money, you can leave the possessions,
Yeah.
and someone might inherit it, but in terms of value or what will be remembered.
Yeah.
So let's take something that's lost in our generation, I believe, is leaders, true leaders.
Yeah.
If we go back to our parents' generation alone, so just go back 2-3 decades, you got people like Muhammad Ali, though as a sports star, he used his voice to, shape almost, not a whole generation, but he shaped many people's thinking, opened many people's eyes, spoke for many great things. Look at Malcolm X, and these people are, Muhammad Ali obviously passed away more recently, but, in terms of him in his active years, many years, decades ago, but Malcolm X died decades ago, and yet their words is what's left. He wasn't a rich man, Malcolm X, for example. He wasn't a rich man. But yet, look how many people to this day, worldwide, know his name, know his words, knew what he said, what he meant, and use those principles sometimes to help them. Like, I've listened to Malcolm X's words when I was growing up as a teenager, and I'd listen to it, and it would help me to learn things. It would open my eyes to things and thoughts, and that's legacy,
100%.
And that's legacy. And that's why I do stuff like this, because in terms of back then, even in them times, to be fair, the media was starting to grow, but the original legacy was in stone, in books. You would need to, someone would need to transcribe essentially a conversation. While now we have the opportunity, and as long as the internet is around, and I'm sure it will be around forever, or if not a long time, and the legacy is going to be cemented in what's been captured. What little clip or words did you say that then left that impact? But more importantly, it really is about the impact you have on individuals. And it doesn't have to be masses. Like, that's like for me, for example, that's one of my goals, is to try and help as many people. But I would just be as content helping my family, just my family, just 5 people.
100%.
And that alone is powerful enough. Like, there isn't, when we talk about legacy, it does not mean I need to be famous. I need to be known by loads of people or loved by loads of people.
Just being there for your own family, like,
that's what matters most.
Like, if you're able to provide for them, like, you have, like, for example, you have your own family, you have your daughter, and just being able to provide for her, being there for her, being a good father to her, that alone could be so much that our world might not see. But you and your own world, and at your own home, that could be everything. And
that's what it is, though. Like, so. The amazing thing about becoming a father is I learned a lot about what's actually important, and I'm still trying to be better, because I fail in many ways in terms of time, in terms of priorities, in terms of like how much energy I put into, say, other things rather than things that I should put energy into as in inside the circle rather than outside the circle. And my daughter was away for 4 or 5 days. Last week she went to that wedding I was telling you about.
Okay.
She came back, and then I was at the gym when she when she came back, she was asleep, and then I went gym, and then when I came back she was awake. So I knocked on the door, and to see the joy in her face, just to see me, she's not bothered about how much money I got, how much I made, or she's not bothered about you got a podcast, Riz, or anything. She's not bothered about none of that. Okay. She's just happy to see me, and that teaches you so much, and. Not only that, but the love that a child has, not just for her parents, but just generally, a love that children have.
Children are beautiful, honestly.
Right, and they're not corrupt, and that's why if you see, say, teenagers or, people, kids who are like 8 or 9 or 10 or 11, that sort of stage, if they're acting in a certain way that you could perceive as bad or, rude or whatever, it's because they've been corrupted. Because in those early stages between 0 and 5, that's where they learn soaking it all up. That's where they're taking it all, in that stage, they're just pure love, pure joy. Don't get me wrong, they'll have their moments where they're hard to manage and stuff, don't get me wrong. But in terms of their essence, their soul, their purity, it's 100% there. You can see it in their eyes. You can see it in their eyes. You can see that they are just looking at the world and observing the world. They don't care about nothing else other than human interaction. And
they're like a sponge at that age, like they're taking in everything that
subconsciously as well.
Good
it's not
and
even
bad.
like they know.
Yeah, good and bad both. So everything that you're doing around those kids,
they take it up.
Yeah. So even like if you look at the racism,
Yep.
it's not taught. you're not born with racism.
It's learned.
It's learned.
Observed.
It's observed. It's behavior. Like if you're grown up in a certain way, where in an environment where it's proactively encouraged, you learn that.
Yeah, 100%.
And so
it's interesting world, man. Honestly, interesting world.
honestly,
I was going to say to you one thing before you finish, because I know that you like your watches. Yeah. And I've never really been into watches. I got put onto watches because of the place I used to work in. They kept trying to push me to get one. Ever since then, the funny thing is, before that, it never really crossed my mind. Not that there's no positive or negative to it, right? It never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Ever since they did that to me, I had, no matter who I meet, I look at their watch.
I look at your
and same
watch,
with girls, I look at their handbags because of my wife.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's the strangest thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Before that, you would notice, right?
I would never look I would not look at all. And ever since then, I look at every single person's watch, and I especially look when you're like the bezel, the Jubilee bracelet.
Yeah.
If I see one that looks like that, I'm always like, is it actually Rolex? And then I look, and then it's not. I'm like,
It's like a lot of the smaller brands. You know,
they just copy the design,
bracelet,
which I get. Because I like the design.
Yeah.
But what do you think to watches? I know obviously investment-wise, they're very, very good.
Yeah.
But is it something like because obviously you dress well, you're into your fashion as well, which is really good. But is it like both like a investment and just personal?
A hobby. Yeah, 100%. So it's an interest, hobby, and it's also a good investment.
It's probably good communities. Like you probably meet a lot of connections.
Honestly,
one thing they used to try and push me for was like people will respect you more. That's what they used to try and say, right? They will respect you more, and you can get into better. You can network better. Yeah. So in terms of the respect thing, I wasn't bothered. I used to always say, but people respect me anyway.
Exactly.
I don't want them to respect me because of that.
Because of
right?
something you have. Yeah.
But the networking, what would you say? Because I don't have one. I've not looked to get one yet. But I know that probably eventually, if I find one that I actually like, I'll probably get one.
Okay.
But would you say that's true in terms of the networking aspect, or being able to open certain doors? Is that sort of true? It's not essentially like a key.
No, it's
but
not.
Is there like an element to it?
As shallow as it may sound, how humans see things is first impression.
Yeah.
Your first impression has an impact.
100%.
So regardless which restaurant you're going to, which hotel you're going to, the people you're approaching. For example, you could go to a restaurant somewhere and they're booked out. Yeah. And they turn you away. You don't. Now you're wearing an expensive watch. And they were like, and you ask them for a table, for example. They might say, fine. Yeah. We'll sort stuff. They notice.
Yeah.
They have now seen that there's presence.
I get you. Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah. So whereas they might not see your house, they might not see your car, or
well, it's the same as so it's the same with the car. It's the same with how you dress.
Yeah.
So it's very true.
So as shallow as it may sound, and
I don't think it's shallow though. I think like it's all about how you. So I think the shallow aspect would be saying that people will respect you more, for example, right?
But they do treat you differently.
They will treat you differently. Yeah.
So that's when, for example, you can have two guys approaching the same restaurant.
Yeah.
And booked out.
Yeah.
One guy has a watch on, and the other doesn't. And
I understand. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would it's quite shallow, but
it's the way they were saying it is that, as in like you will command respect, if that makes sense. So you know what I would imagine what you mean is just you're not saying, hey, I want to get a table, right? You're not doing that, are you?
Yeah, of course.
You're just being you.
Yeah, exactly.
And they notice that presence.
Exactly. Yeah. So they notice that you are somebody that may be somebody that's respectful.
Exactly. So I wouldn't call that shallow. The shallow aspect would be that, hey man, you get me a table.
You get me a table because
but look at that bit shallow, but you're not like that. But I know people like that. You know what I mean? But that's character. That's just character.
But even networking wise, like if somebody has for example, if somebody has wearing a watch, they might approach you and say, oh, that's a very nice watch you're wearing there, and then they start a conversation that way.
You never know where that goes.
And it has and that has happened. From my own, I was yesterday in a hotel, and this guy, we were just sitting in the lounge, and just spark conversation. What do you do? I'm into watches as well, and then found out he's in LA and all this. It's just like.
I think it is good. That's why I mean, I did see what they meant.
Yeah.
But the way that they were doing it was the shallow aspect of you can command respect. And I was like, okay. I don't need to command it. I'd rather someone give it me for the sake of
There's is respectful way for everything, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think as man, we don't really we don't buy handbags. We don't really have, apart from a watch. Like there's not much we can wear, you know. Like we're not carrying bags or shoes or like. You know, the girls like have like dresses and all of this stuff. For a man, I think it's a good investment.
I think so, yeah.
As long as you're buying the right pieces, you're buying the right watches. You have again, you have to get a bit of knowledge of the market and buying at the right time. It was quite inflated the market last 6 months.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So it's dipped quite. It's dipped quite a bit
quite
now.
Nice amount, yeah.
And I think also sentimental value. You know.
Yeah, man. Because that's part of it as well. Is like you might buy one, and it's a good investment, but you might just be buying one for life.
Well,
that's it. Like, you want to pass it down, and
because or you've like reached a certain aspect in your life where you can
associate that.
Yeah, and like you can like gift it yourself. Like, okay, look, I have achieved something.
Yep.
And now I wanna like
that's my mindset
myself.
Well,
100%.
Because that's what I always said growing up, and I'm sure you probably have experienced this, where you might have been around, especially when you were younger, around people who, especially maybe at uni or before that, where people were just celebrating nothing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they were celebrating as if something had happened, but nothing had happened. Not even a birthday.
Yeah.
Not even nothing. It was nothing. The weekend, the Saturday, say, oh my God. Wow, the mindset of celebrating some form of achievement is way better for your psychology and just generally in life. That's how you should be doing things. The same with me. Like, that's why recently I've been smoking weed, I've been drinking, I've been having a good time for a few years, and I've achieved still a lot. But I've realized, and I really thought about it over these last few months of reflecting on, imagine how much I could achieve just being focused. You know, and that's why the whole shaved head thing, what can I achieve being focused, being clean living? And then in doing so, when I do achieve certain things, I can choose what I want to do as a reward, whether it's, again, a watch or a meal or whatever.
A holiday
or even the chilling type of thing that I do, right? But what am I doing at the moment? What am I celebrating? Normally, still, even then, especially these last year and a half, when I have done stuff, it's usually a meetup, as you saw probably, a meetup or an actual event, rather than just, it's Saturday or this or that. But regardless, I would much rather dedicate the next 4 or 5 years of pure dedication of hard work, and then at the end of it, enjoy. I just came across a cruise, a round the trip 9-month cruise. And if you want to do it proper, it's $120,000, yeah? Okay. Goes all around the world, every major spot in the world. 9 whole months you stay on that cruise. Crazy. That's something I'd love to do. Okay. I wouldn't want to do it when I'm old, because you won't. That's going to be annoying. Yeah.
Exactly. How I see it is, I think there should be a very balance between hard work and play. Yeah. And as in that you shouldn't focus all of your life into work as well, because then you'll miss life. Yes. You know, like, for example, if you're growing between the 20 and 30, I would say these are your years of foundation years. Yeah. Like you have to build. But equally, these are also the years where you have time, where you can spend time with your friends and go out. Energy, exactly. Like if you, let's say, put yourself in a bunker throughout these years.
And you're working hard and everything.
And your only worry is saving money, By the time you're 30, your friends have all married and got kids and
they can't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. And now you're like 30, 40 years old. You have all this money now, but what are you gonna do with it? Yeah. So how even with me, like how I like to do it is have like a good balance.
You have to, yeah.
Work hard, but equally play hard as well. Like, enjoy yourself.
You can do it. That's the thing.
You can do it 100%. Like you can 100%. You don't need to like go.
I think travel's one of the better ones because it's like it's a
good escape.
Yeah, it's like you're gone. When you're there, do what you want. Yeah. When you're back, it's like back to grind.
That's exactly my cycle of work. So how I work is, I work in cycles. So I work like, for example, 2-3 months where I'm here. Yeah. And I work and I'm focused. I have my routine. Yeah. And my weekends are not crazy, as in they're like spending time with family, friends. Yeah. Restaurant. Doing this sort of thing. Yeah. So nothing crazy. Yeah. But then after like 2-3 months, when I'm starting to feel the burnout. Yeah. I will then book a holiday 2-3 weeks and just completely switch off. I'm not working. I'm not thinking about anything. I love that. I would just obviously swing position or like just generally look at the market, but I'm not day trading. Active. No, I'm not day trading. I'm not doing nothing. I'm taking a break and I'm relaxing, recharging, and just enjoying myself. Yeah, living and also like it's your hard work. You work so hard over the last 3-4 months.
It allows you to perform better because also, you're actually reinforcing all that hard work with a reward.
And in more ways, to come back, work harder, and go to the next trip, for example. Like, and that's how I say, like, always.
And normally when you go on a trip, you actually realize when you get there, oh shit, I could have stayed there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Next time when I come, I want to go
wanna
stay
go
that.
there,
Or I
yeah.
want to go do this. So like I'm in Vegas, next time I want to go do the Grand Canyon. I don't want to get on the bus for an hour and something.
Yeah.
I want to take the helicopter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that sort of thing. And you can only experience that by going the first time.
Yeah.
And then when you come back,
Seeing
you've got a
it.
new
Yeah,
drive. you
yeah,
know?
exactly.
I like that. I
Yeah,
love that.
Yeah.
But man, hopefully people take a lot from this, because the thing I love about podcasts, and we said this just before, is that for me it's like an excuse. I'm terrible for my phone, bro. Like, I'm the worst. That's like right now I've sorted everything else out.
Yeah.
Right, it's not been long, but I've sorted everything else
Yeah.
out, and I know my mindset is like when I've decided, I've decided. So I know that's fine. So like my training's on point, my mindset's on point, my work rate's on point, everything. The one thing that's not on point is that phone, right? And I'm going to take some drastic action to somehow sort that out, right? Because I have to. But these things here force me to put the phone down, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it the most, to be honest with you. Like, even if I wasn't going to post this, because I was saying to my wife, me and my wife are going to come and film and do a podcast episode like this for the purpose of, and I think it's some form of like therapy and just good for relationship.
Healthy relationship.
Yeah, just to talk. And my baby, no doubt, will be running around and going crazy in here.
Yeah.
But we'll come and film it, and it will never get posted anywhere. It's for us.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's like switch everything off.
Yeah, and just
talk about everything.
Yeah, because like I know that me and my wife, we speak all the time, but, and obviously we're married, but it's very easy in a relationship like that. And even just generally, forget marriages, but like just generally when you live with people, you live with your family, it's so easy not to talk because you're just so comfortable with each other's presence and you're busy, and you just get used to them being there.
Yeah.
When really we want to be still always connecting, and you can always have these sort of conversations. It's much better for me and you, for example, because we don't know much about each other, so therefore we can dive deeper into certain things. But even when you know each other very well, you can still learn so much from each other, and you can learn, like, even let's say, okay, how was your day? It was bad. What was bad about it? And then suddenly spark. That can be an hour-long conversation where you've actually, gone back and forth and really discussed things. And I think that's really missing within homes today, especially within my home. And the persons who fault that is mine. And I know that. So, yeah, my biggest thing right now is really cutting that off. I've got two phones, bro. I've got a personal and then one for, obviously, the business. And, yet both of them really turn into business. So I'm working on it. But that's something I'm definitely going to cut out. Definitely.
Honestly, I think just being aware of that, just knowing, look, that's something that's the problem. Like identifying that problem itself is the first step. Yeah. And then taking action about it. But honestly, I feel the same. Like these phones, as much as
you just want to get rid of it now.
No. Honestly, sometimes I feel like they're thrown away.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah. Sometimes I just feel like just throwing away. And there was a period like a few months ago. You know what happened? My phone is full of memory. Yeah. And like the iCloud backup had stopped something, and it just completely froze. It froze and it wouldn't let me turn on. Yeah. And it was off for 2 days.
Oh, it felt amazing.
Honestly, like I just switched my SIM into my other phone. So I only had iMessage then.
Okay.
And so my WhatsApp notifications gone, everything gone. And honestly, those 2 days they felt like therapy. Like that constant.
Do you remember when WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram went down for like 6 hours? When it didn't exist, it was even better. Yeah. Well, before the smartphones, I remember that. Yeah. But do you remember when it went down for like a good 6 hours one night, and everyone was like, it's gonna be down for a week or whatever. Yeah. And I remember feeling like this is gonna be great. I hope it's down for a week. I literally felt like I hope it's down. And then I've had my Instagram taken down 3 times. There's someone right now who's working on trying to take it down, and I literally said like, I hope it does, because I will detox then. Yeah. And
it gives you that kind of a reason basically.
Yeah, it gives me that thing. But also I need to be able to just do it myself. Yeah. And be able to just switch off. But I 100% get you there, man, because like, when you're kind of forced into it and you finally feel the other side, you're like, whoa, this is what I've been missing.
As great as the phones are, and you can connect and do everything on it. I think with anything, that balance kind of thing, is good and bad. Yeah. If it's too much of anything, it's bad for you.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And that's what I mean. Like with the phones, especially with what we do, it's so useful. Yeah. But as you say, like balance is needed.
Yeah, balance is key.
And there isn't really a reason, especially for me, to be on it after 5-6 p.m. Because by that point the markets are dying down.
Yeah.
They're outside the session. So even when it comes to teaching wise, majority of people are switching off the laptops and all that. So, you know, and the funny thing is I have an alarm that goes off every single day at 6 p.m, which is, it says
Switch off. Okay.
And I just turn it off. So I've actually thought there's these things you can buy where you slot your phone in and it locks it there. You can't do anything with it and it just stays in there. So I might actually get one and then just throw my phone in there. And then if you don't hear from me, you know why. But Riz, bro, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. I really enjoyed this.
Likewise, honestly, it's been a pleasure.
Definitely, man. And I want to go for a meal with you and just we'll just chop it up. We're in London anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, man. But thank you again. I'll have your socials below. That's cool in the description.
Yeah, that's fine.
And yeah, hope everyone enjoyed and we'll catch you on the next one.
Perfect. Nice one. Thank you very much for having me.